All right. Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun. Welcome to the Critical Role Campaign 4, Episode 2 Halftime Show. Da, 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 bum, 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 bum. Da, 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 da. And I only have a little bit of time to do it. We have just about 14 minutes before they come back. Again, this is just a reaction to what has happened in the first half. There will be no major spoilers. I will not be giving away whole things, just my takes on things. And I've taken notes this time. And so this is just that. And then on Monday, I'll be releasing my whole spoiler reaction review, all that stuff for the rest of the episode and the things I can't talk about here. Um, so, there were so many things that I wish I had talked about prior in the other ones, but like I said, I usually get better at these things as I get more under my belt. Okay, so again, another great cold open. Uh, he really sets the stage here to do like what I'll give away. I mean, if this whole thing is for people who have just taken that break and watched this and need somewhere to take a breath and vent and say what's on their mind too. So feel free to put it in the comment section after the fact. Um, but this has got a lot of flashbacks in this series so far. And this one's no different. We have a really exciting flashback that deals with a prior event in the stories that we've already been told that deal with Thiazi Fang and the whole group of people that have been at this funeral uh, and how they knew each other. But really, what this scene is setting up to me like whether or not someone possibly betrayed them, and I do think that there's maybe some misdirection going on here. We've definitely been talking about me and my friend that watch this together have been talking about whether or not who we think is betraying. I happen to think that it follows kind of a strict thing of just because one thing is presented to us doesn't mean that means that person then represents something good or positive. It just means that at one point in time that person did something that you could look at as, this is a heroic moment. That doesn't mean that person later on isn't up to no good. Uh, Kind of makes me feel like I was thinking of like heist rules when it comes to whether or not who I think is actually behind this and what possibly happened to a couple of characters because they brought up Sid in the past of he was one of the people that's supposed to help Thiazi Fang get out of there, and now he's missing. I kind of think of along the lines of the driver, right? He's supposed to be the driver of the carriage that got him out of there. And when I think about what happens to drivers in heist movies, that's where I'm going with this. And I do think that what we're being presented with is probably going to get flipped on its head. I don't know. They said that, it's going to be revealed what happens. Will it happen in this episode? I don't know. Um, but I do think that it was really great start to this. This is definitely probably, and we'll talk more in detail in the spoiler review on Monday. Uh, the ad, hilarious as always. It looks like they filmed all of these probably in a big bulk. Everybody's wearing the same clothes. Sam playing a detective, the Clive Bridget Jones Forsyth, or Clive Jane Campion's Forsyth, or Professor Mr. Bean Forsyth. Um, the funniest part of this though wasn't actually the ad. That seemed a little more like last week's ad was way better than this. Sam being way over the top. What I thought was funny about this announcement was how Liam bangs his head really hard against the table. This I will spoil because it's the ads. Uh, Liam banging his head against the table while Laura then bangs her elbow. But also the stuff that they had, the costumes. There's a Molly costume and a Jester costume at Spirit Halloween now. I went and checked them both out. I wish that the Molly costume came with like the horns, but whatever. Um, and another thing that I wanted to bring up, and because this is the overture, right? there's going to be a few of these. I think this says something like 3 or 4 episodes where they're all together before they go off on their own adventures. And they were already in the can. And so this might not mean anything. But for future videos, if they decide to have everybody at the table that they haven't recorded yet, I would say, since these aren't aired live anymore, that they edit the moving back and forth of everybody from the table and just fade out and fade in. You could cut some time off the clock, and it's just a little jarring story-wise when you're sucked in and all of a sudden everybody's moving their drinks and their trays and blah, blah, blah. It's a small, stupid thing that I think they can just fix in editing if they play, if they have big group sets where they're changing characters in and out. But there's no reason to really think that that's going to happen, since this is just that moment of everybody at the table switching on and off now. Now we start with where we left off at the end of last episode when they come back. I really like how the character Taisha is definitely like the button pusher. She is the person who's going to be touching and reaching and grabbing things. It's a Bria, right? She's excited and she wants to like get right in there. But as we see, actions have consequences in this. This thing that they found that opened up when they said Thimble last week is pretty cool. It has ties to Talison's character, who I didn't talk about last week. He's got that mask that's on his face, and it's been there because he's afraid to take it off to see what would happen to him. And now we're dealing with, when they opened it, there was a mask there, another mask that looks like that. And what happens here is really, really cool. It's a group of people all trying to figure out what to do with this thing now that it's happened. And we've got, Valus in there still being like, is she a threat to these people at a funeral? Ashley doing a good job here. Belair, though, because of the whole mask thing, I like what they did with him. That he, his knowledge of, what he does for a living, knowing what these things are, what they mean. I'm really excited to see where they take this object that they're dealing with. I believe that that's going to be the next thing that at the end of the half, at the beginning of the next half, that's where we're going to start up, I believe. There's ties again to the Night Song Stone here that's coming up. And Thimble, this is not really much of a spoiler, but we finally get Thimble into the group proper. I like that. She finally gets to be the last one, and I really, really like that. We don't see Ashley and Laura ever have to be antagonistic with each other, but we get a little of that here because, Thimble was Thiazi's, main right-hand person. And we get another cool flashback that deals with that. I really, really dug how they do these flashbacks a lot. They did, this is not something that the other campaigns do. There's a lot of lore that we got from Matt, but we didn't actually go back in time to see a lot of these things. And Brennan's doing an incredible job balancing all of this. Oh my gosh, there's 13 people there, and they have to do a lot of storytelling. And again, not tons and tons of lore. In fact, I feel like I got more lore out of the cooldown from last week that we rewatched tonight, where he explains a lot of things that are going on in that world and how things could have gone down. But there is this animosity towards who betrayed us, who's behind Thiazi being killed and why. That's why the questions of who is not here, who had the potential to do this. We know that the glyph was not there, the one that was supposed to be there. I like how they handle dealing with this and the consequences of that. When you try to see the one thing and it reveals more of like what kind of magic this was. Starts opening up more of an investigation, a more of a mystery, and I really dig that aspect of this campaign. Is this mystery? Because I'm a big story and character guy. I have only been at one D&D table in my life. So when I watch this, it's all about like figuring out the story and the characters, and I'm just digging how they're presenting things so far. Now, I know that there's this mystery about Sam's character that's going on the internet and whether or not he's hiding something, and maybe his stats don't add up, but so far they haven't presented me as a viewer with anything that says Sam isn't who he says he is. But that doesn't mean that Sam's not just a really, really good player, really good actor. He could be playing things very close to the vest. And that kind of gets us to like where they're going with this story with Sam. Because when we eventually get done with the funeral stuff here, we are going to, we do see, and we already knew from the last episode that the grandma of Wikander, she's a character, all right, putting on one face and then just dropping the act immediately. And Wikander's a true believer in a world full of people that don't believe in nothing. They believe that they can bring in these demons and change them up, and it makes it look good and everything. While these demons, you can take the demon out of hell, but you can't take the hell out of the demon. You know what I mean? They're playing a dangerous game themselves, doing what they're doing. And Tyranny kind of being like, caught in the middle of like, I feel like Tyranny and Wikander are both in similar situations. Wikander with his family, and Tyranny with her family, and both of them kind of like being forced to do things that they are starting to figure out maybe they don't want a part in. We do also have the search now for who like is behind the glyph ward thing getting messed up, and everybody going out to find out like getting all these pieces together to who did it. Where's Sid? Where's Casimir? And it's all really exciting considering that we've only been in we've had the cold open, the funeral scene, and the stuff with Wikander, Tyranny, and Teor. So now when we come back, we're going to be switching to more and more characters, and where it's going to go, man. Again, the Havilar people, they're really opening up a can of worms with where they're going. I feel like this is definitely a story that is these people don't believe in anything. But before I go, I just wanted to bring up like what Hal was saying about Thiazi and about how he sees how much Thiazi meant to different people. And I think that that's like a truism for everybody, that whoever you are in whatever universe, like whatever group of people that know you, all those people see you differently depending on your relationship and how you interacted with them. And I think that that's just a really beautiful point to make of like a person's life and what a person can mean to what one person can mean so many different things to so many people. So the show's about to come back on. This was just, again, the little halftime show to breathe and add a little bit. So don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out the video on Monday where we'll be talking about all of this, where I can say all the things that I didn't get to say here. So have a great one, and I'll see you guys later. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Bye.